It's a case study in the way media works today. Old allegations of sexual assault against comedian Bill Cosby given a new lease on life thanks to viral video and social media. But as the media digs into Cosby's alleged misdeeds, it's worth asking, why now? WGBH News reporter Adam Riley has more.
For years, Bill Cosby's image as America's TV dad has trumped troubling claims about the comedian's behavior.
He had gone from helping me to groping me and kissing me and touching me.
But suddenly, Cosby's alleged misdeeds are being reported nonstop.
A new wave of allegations from decades ago.
Sexual assault allegations continue to swirl.
Famed funny man Bill Cosby responding to accusations of sexual abuse.
The avalanche of bad press started last month when a video of comedian Hannibal Buress mocking Cosby went viral.
I don't curse on stage, but yeah, you're a rapist, so...
That led to a social media pile-on and prompted new accusers to come forward.
Feeling drugged and him having sex with me.
Also stoking the backlash, Cosby berating an AP reporter for asking about the alleged assaults.
And I think you need to get on the phone with his person immediately.
And when NPR's Scott Simon asked Cosby about the allegations, the comedian didn't do himself any favors.
There are people who love you who might like to hear from you about this. I want to give you the chance. All right.
Cosby was already in the news with a new biography, new NBC pilot, and new Netflix documentary. Now, the latter two projects have been pulled. Cosby's attorney says he's the victim of a media feeding frenzy, but maybe the press is just giving Cosby the scrutiny he's deserved for years.
So is there a reason the story didn't emerge on this scale sooner? Here to hash it out are John Keller of WBZ, Joanna Weiss of the Boston Globe, Kelly Crossley of WGBH News, and Dan Kennedy of Northeastern University. So that's the issue, because it has come out. Matt Lauer has asked about it. There's been any number of instances where it's been brought up. Turns out the National Enquirer had a big story that they ended up scuttling, to use Bill Cosby's phrase, because he threatened to sue them, and then he gave them a one-on-one interview under the contingency that they not use any of the allegations from the women. So it has bubbled, but it's never really come up.
It's a really hard question to answer. I mean, it's easier to answer these questions when the press really hasn't reported on something like this. But in this case, a lot of this had been reported, and it just didn't take off for whatever reason. I thought the most interesting thing I read this week about the whole affair was by Ta-Nehisi Coates in The Atlantic, in which he talked about, he was actually writing a very critical essay about Cosby in 2007. He did not like Cosby's emergence as sort of this spokesman for black conservatism. And he says he didn't deal with the rape stuff because he thought he had written a really good narrative and a really good story, and this would have spoiled it. And I think there was a lot of that out there, unfortunately.
Well, the way the celebrity press works is a little bit different from the way a lot of other reporting works. I mean, you know, you're a political reporter, you have this watchdog function, there's a combative relationship that's built in, both sides understand it. With the celebrity press, first of all, access to these people is very difficult to get. It's usually around, you know, launches of things, releases of movies. There's a sense that the subject matter is going to be this work of art that you're discussing, or this work of fiction that you're discussing, and there's a sense that there's a reverence built in. Clearly the celebrities and all of their handlers think that reverence is part of the process.
And to your point, the only reason that anybody had access to him now is because of his art collection being displayed at the Smithsonian. It's his art collection is well known by a small circle, so this is a huge deal for the Smithsonian, and certainly for him and for his wife, Camille Hanks Cosby, whom I feel very sorry for in this. So they finally have access to him, and then Hannibal Buress says what he says. And by the way, the context of Hannibal Buress saying that was because he was tired of him lecturing, as he put it, poor people. I'm tired of you lecturing poor black people. And then he went on to say, and anyway, who are you to talk? You're a rapist. And then he said to the audience, Google it if you don't believe me. So obviously that got picked up. So the question is, if you're a reporter at that time, given what Joanna said about celebrity, now you're a straight reporter and you're not celebrity, you need to have somebody to come forward and some facts, some court case, some documents, something. And those 15 women that agreed to speak in the case that was settled out of court in 2006 simply went away. And it wasn't until one of those women, Barbara Bowman, probably because of seeing this Smithsonian attention, said, wait a minute, you should know this part about this guy too. And she wrote for the Washington Post. So there you have it.
Well, as richly as I think most of us, I'll just speak for myself, who find the stories told by the women to be plausible, would like to see this creep get his comeuppance. You just touched on a key point here, which is, what is the standard for the media to go all out on what are identical and plausible but unsubstantiated and undocumented allegations against a public figure, or a private figure for that matter? Is it because a comedian with a political axe to grind brings it up in his act? That's the trigger that unleashes the floodgates? Gee, that's an awfully sketchy standard. This is a big, big problem that we talk about all the time on this program in the modern day media. How do you perform your editorial function as a gatekeeper and preserve a sense of fairness to all involved, particularly when there are so many media outlets out there who don't give a damn about that and will just go for it?
Which is why this was driven by social media, not by celebrity press or by mainstream media. Because that's the only space where you can be in where speculation can be considered fact in some places,
All right, well, CNN's Don Lemon is also under the microscope this week, widely criticized for a question he asked Joan Tarshis, one of the women accusing Cosby of sexual assault. Take a look at this.
He made you perform oral sex.
Right.
You know, there are ways not to perform oral sex if you want to do it.
I was kind of stoned at the time, and quite honestly, that didn't even enter my mind. Now I wish it would have.
Right.
But
meaning the using of the teeth, right?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Weapon,
I didn't even think of it.
Biting. So,
ouch.
Yes, I had to ask.
Well, did you really? After widespread backlash, Lemon offered a classic non-apology to anyone who might have been offended. He also invited Tarshis back on the show, along with a CNN contributor who accused Lemon of blaming the victim. When he asked whether Tarshis felt he was blaming her, she said no, and Lemon defended himself further.
I in no way was blaming the victim, and I don't think even Joan thinks that. I understand that people
I don't think that was your intent.
That wasn't my intention at all. And so, again, but I think people do. I think you're right. These women have opened themselves up.
Absolutely.
To this. And I think that they should, but also they're very brave, and they come on and they're honest about it, and that we can talk about things, because we should not be castigating each other. We should allow each other leeway to make mistakes. You cannot be judgmental of every single person, every single question.
Don Lemon needs to shut up and go away. I mean, he's made one mistake after another. He was the one who reported that the police chief in Ferguson was resigning. He went on for 20 minutes about that one night, making himself the story here. It was an inappropriate question in the first place, and dumb.
I think he should plead insanity.
Well, now that Piers Morgan is gone from CNN, you need someone else to fill the role of unctuous idiot, and Don appears to be auditioning. And, again, the question is offensive because, as was pointed out there, it raises the specter of blaming the victim.
Yes.
And, to say to someone who was raped, why didn't you fight back harder, really is kind of beyond the pale. On the other hand, are there investigative reporters out there now looking into the stories these accusers are telling? It would seem to me that would be a valid exercise of journalism. Not, to defame them, but is there substance to what they're saying? That seems to me to be key.
I feel like some of this is just, it highlights the danger of 24-hour cable talk where you have to be discussing, you have to be constantly finding some new angle and some new thing to say about a topic that is also being discussed for the other 23 hours by other people. So, I don't want to defend Don Lemon, but I can see where he's got this person, he's trying to voice what people might be asking or thinking, and he's doing this on the fly and not exercising his own judgment.
I wish he'd put it like that, Joanna.
I should defend it for him.
I mean, it's offensive on two levels. First of all, it's just crass really? Is this how we want to ask questions of people? And secondly, it's ridiculous because of the blaming of the victim. He didn't even put it in the context. There was no context for him. Listen, these are unsubstantiated claims as far as many people can. You can understand why someone might say blah, blah, but that's a far cry from saying, there's a way that you didn't have to do that. There's a whole other world away from that. And how does he keep a job, you ask? Because, like Fareed Zakaria, they just like him. End of story. That's it.
There was like a Saturday Night Live quality to this, because first he doesn't say what's on his mind, but then he can't help himself. It's like, I'm talking about teeth, and then he comes back. It's like, I had to ask. I mean,
no, you didn't have to ask.
Well, the poor interviewee, she just looked so taken aback by where this had gone.
She didn't think of it.